Welcome to OpenCountryTV.com, and today we are looking at Browning's X-Bolt Composite Stalker in 308 Winchester. The X-Bolt is basically a modernised A-Bolt. It looks like Browning created the perfect mix of old and new with the new X-Bolt line. The X-Bolt retains the A-Bolt's 3 locking lugs and the short 60-degree bolt lift. The shroud mounted loaded chamber indicator remains, as does the Tang style safety. It has an M16 style extractor and plunger style ejector that pulls empty cases from the chamber and ejects them well away from the steel receiver. The rotary design magazine is constructed of high impact polymer plastic. The magazine holds 3 rounds in the WSM calibers and 4 of the standard calibers. The magazine release lever is part of the magazine. This nearly ensures that it always ends up in your hands when you release it. The magazine lines up the top cartridge with the centre of the bore so that the cartridges feed directly into the chamber. The straight line feed makes for positive and smooth loading. Another great feature of the magazine is its moulded in shoulders inside that keep cartridges from battering their tips on the front of the magazine during recoil. A really useful change is the bolt release button. The button is mounted on the base of the bolt shank. By pushing it in, you can cycle the bolt without deactivating the safety. This is a really major improvement in my opinion, but more so for the American market where hunters tend to stalk loaded and locked. I have always found it more prudent to stalk unloaded or with the breech full and the bolt open depending on the situation. The top of the receiver is where the X-Bolt gets its name. Rather than the conventional 2-hole setup for attaching scope bases, the X-Bolt has 4 screws per base. There is 1 screw at each corner, hence the X. This would normally make it difficult for other third-party manufacturers to provide bases for the X-Bolt, as any degree of error would make mounting a scope near impossible. But with the level of tolerance Browning's factory is able to hold, it has not appeared as a problem for the X-Bolt so far. The X-Bolt's new feather trigger, I'm sure, is the feature Browning's engineers are most proud of. The trigger is set from the factory at approximately 3.5 pounds, and it is user adjustable anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds. The steel trigger components are hard chromed and all engaged surfaces are polished to a high sheen, which makes for a very clean trigger pull. The simple system uses 3 levers to reduce creep and minimise over travel. The mechanical advantage gained by the addition of the 3rd lever makes the trigger feel completely devoid of creep. The X-Bolt's barrel is standard Browning hammer forged and has a recessed target style crown. Barrels chambered for WSM cartridges are 23 inches. Standard cartridges have 22-inch barrels, whilst the Magnum sport 26-inch barrels. The X-Bolt Hunter's synthetic stock is the most obvious departure from the A-Bolt line. The sleek, modern design is similar to Browning's Synergy shotgun line. The relatively straight design has a trim forend with a shadow line accent, a checkered pistol grip and a forend, and a shadow line on either side of the butt. That shadow line and a long sweeping grip combine to give the stock a lean look. Browning's new Inflex recoil pad uses a combination of recoil dampening rubber and a new design that causes the rifle to recoil away from your face rather than into it to reduce felt recoil. The action is bedded into the new stock with bedding compound at the front and rear for increased accuracy and stability. The barrel is free floated. 2 screws at the bottom of the stock, 1 fore and 1 aft of the magazine, secure the bottom metal stock and barreled action. The action sits very low in the stock, which looks good and feels great in the hands. The X-Bolt Composite Stalker has a steel receiver and available in 243, 7mm08, 308, 2506, 270 Win, 280 Remington, 3006, 7mm Rem Mag, 300 Win Mag, 338 Winchester Magnum, 300 WSM, 7mm WSM, 325 WSM and 270 WSM. Rifling is 4 groove, 1 in 10 right hand twist. Drop at heel is 1/2 inch, drop at the comb is 5/8 inch. The length of pull is 13.625 inches. It has sling studs which are fixed and the weight empty is 6 pounds 11 ounces, and the overall length is 42 3/4 inches. So there you have it, the Browning X-Bolt in a nutshell. Now let's get down to the range and see it in action. So the first group to be shot off the bench was with the Winchester 150 grain PowerPoints. As you can see, that has ejected the cartridge a fair way from the rifle, which is quite a good thing, unless you're in long grass and you're keen to reload, I guess. But there's no chance of the action being fouled up. The ejector and the extractor work very, very well together. So, and this magazine is really terrific, made of good polymer, and the release is actually part of the magazine. So when you take it out, it just falls in your hand. There's less likely chance of dropping it on the ground. So there it is, that first group, shot pretty quickly, lightweight barrel, hunting barrel, 1.25 inches at worst, that group, at 100 metres. I think that's pretty impressive from a stock standard off-the-shelf firearm and factory ammunition. As a combination, these two will be great. So I'm looking forward to the Elite to see how it goes. But before we do that, we might just give it a really good clean, eh? Now for the third shot into this group. Well, I guess we better make sure that we can do that a second time, because that group's pretty good. And we'll just make sure the rifle can maintain that by shooting a second group at one of the other centres on that target.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that if you're wanting to buy a firearm off the bench that shoots extremely well, the combination of this Browning X-Bolt, the Artemis or the Meopta 3 to 9x42 scope is certainly a very, very good combination. The clarity in the scope is exceptional. And certainly combined with the Winchester Supreme Elite, I think you've seen that it shoots extremely well, and I'd have no trouble taking this rifle and this ammunition with me into the bush.